All right. Happy summer, everybody. Before everybody asks, I have a issue with my eye, so that's why I'm wearing glasses. I think everybody knows recruiting is really cutthroat, and sometimes you gotta wear the battle scars here a little bit from a week on the road. So, yeah. Um, Hey, we're really excited about what's coming up here with our team and our trip and our guys, um, and we're taking this summer as an opportunity to kind of learn about each other. It's going to be a pretty, um, uh, I think, low key. 10 practices different than what's going to happen in October, and that's intentional. I want our guys to be able to enjoy this trip and enjoy being together and learn about each other. We're going to, play all different kind of lineups, start all different kind of lineups. Looking forward to it. We're just now getting started with our practices, and we're practice number 4 today. So it's been good to have everybody here, and obviously we have a new team in a lot of ways. 6 new guys and combined with a lot of returners. So looking forward to continuing to work with them. And I was at a fundraising event last night, and they asked me about this upcoming season and where we were picked and where we're going to be picked. And I said, I don't know. I did have a national media guy send me his preseason stuff already. I don't know if that came out today or not, but it was interesting. So we'll leave it at that. But we definitely got a lot of questions that need to be answered. This summer is going to be a lot about learning how we can attack some of those questions.
Chris, did you know that a trip like this was something you would have liked to do this early in your tenure? And then how did you settle on Spain? Settling, because Spain's beautiful.
Yeah. Bill, you look refreshed too. Did you have a vacation? Yeah, okay. Good for you. We were going to go to Spain at Butler. Butler actually went to Spain this time last year, so it was already in the works for us. So that's kind of how we decided on Spain. I've taken these trips, and I went to the Bahamas one time, which Thad did a few years ago. I went to Australia, which was great, but I'll never do again. No offense to that continent, but it's a great. It just was too long of a trip and too much travel. Spain seems like a good alternative between the two. As much as anything, as kind of corny as this sounds, I really do believe that this is, as much as anything, a good multicultural experience for our players. And we want our, if we're going to preach education to our guys and preach the importance of that, and then we want to use these trips as that. And I don't want that to be lost in all this. And we want it to be a great kind of cross-cultural, multicultural experience for all of our players.
And you touched on this a little bit. Obviously, it's good for team building, but you have, I think it's 9 players in their first or second year in the program. Yeah. Have you ever had that kind of imbalance before?
No, I don't think so. It'd be an interesting thing to go back and look at. Maybe my second or third year at Gardner-Webb, maybe. But most of us in this room understand kind of why, right? Because of our middle classes, that's where all the transfers and all that stuff happened. So you're trying to put a roster together with some lower numbers in those classes. I don't know how much maybe our fans kind of know that, but that's probably part of the reason that the number is as high as it is. I would say, yeah.
You brought up the eye, so
Yeah.
what's going on?
I have I somehow contracted some type of an eye infection. over the weekend, and I don't know why, because I was pretty much just you know working at home, working here for a few hours, and then headed home and relaxing for the rest of the night. It wasn't a busy week at all. Um, but but it must have been in a hotel. Um, I don't know, because I was doing a little bit of flying and a little bit of hotel staying in, so I must have got it somehow there.
Those bed bugs are tough. You know?
I hope it wasn't bed bugs. If it was bed bugs, the guy who sets up my travel hotel arrangements is going to be looking for a new job.
Do you speak Spanish?
A little bit, very little. I studied 4 years of Spanish, a little bit, but it's been dormant for about 20 years, so we'll see if I can pull it out here.
And last thing, you talked about all the new faces, and how do you handle the whole maybe perception, fair or not, 2 steps forward, 1 back? I mean,
Yeah.
it's a little unusual, the
Yes.
kind of year you had. Now there might
Yeah.
be, I don't want to say regression, but that's the
Yes.
challenge.
Yeah, I think it's a fair point, and I think we want to go into it with optimism, and we certainly don't want to put any limitations on what we can be, and yet at the same time, we also recognize that we do have some challenges we had to face. If for some reason Cada had not as a different year, and he said, "Hey, I'm coming back for my senior year, my redshirt senior year," that obviously changes the game a little bit for us. But we knew since probably January that wasn't going to be the case. So I think perception-wise, I think we'll just try to be real and try to hopefully reach the potential for this group. And it's so, we're so anxious to see what that's going to look like, because we don't know what that's going to look like. We are going to be dependent on probably on more, as Bill mentioned, more new faces than I have in a while. But also our returning guys are going to play really important increased roles for us. So how those guys take a step forward and the impact that some of our young guys can give us will. And then, we had tremendous chemistry last year and leadership, and I've mentioned that a number of times, that's what is going to be that element of our team this coming year, our chemistry and our leadership.
Chris, I'm not going to ask you about your politics. I wouldn't do that to you. But how was meeting the governor this morning?
It was great. It was great. And it was, I've been an admirer, and that's not the, I keep, for the most part, my political persuasion to myself in my house. And my wife hears quite a bit about it, but that's about it. But he's always been, in my mind, a pretty plain-spoken, honest guy, and I can't say that I know his politics backwards and forwards, but I kind of, during his presidential runs in the past, I've just admired his how plain-spoken he is and how real he comes across.
You're just saying that because he said he confused you with your athletes, but
Yeah,
let me,
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. You said this morning that you studied Jesse Owens.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering why. I mean, was that a school project? And it made me kind of wonder how much time you spend with your guys teaching them Ohio State history. Because I would think that you have so much to do just teaching them help side defense. Do you
Yeah.
have time to teach them stuff like, here's who Jesse Owens was, here's who Havlicek was, here's who,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I think it's our kind of responsibility as a head coach, to again, the kind of we want our guys to be learners throughout their entire life, and we also want them to appreciate the place that they're at and the history that is here. But we also, I don't want to teach them just about our history. I think it's important to teach them in general, and to kind of hopefully foster thought in their minds. For me, it's an interesting question, because I don't, Martin Luther King Jr. and Jesse Owens were 2 guys that I kind of studied, and I think my dad had a certain admiration for both along with a few other guys, that I just, I think because I had heard him talk about them, I kind of studied them, and I had completely forgot until I got here the connection between Ohio State and Jesse Owens, and my wife actually reminded me pretty early. So his life is a remarkable story, a really interesting one, and I think I haven't yet had a chance to talk to our players about it, but I'm looking forward to it.
You mentioned leadership. When you lose what you did and you bring in a guy like Keyshawn, how does he fit, and how much reign does he have to maybe lead this team, having not been here, but having the experience that he does?
Well, he's got great experience. I think his leadership will depend upon. I don't think that's something that he should jump into, and I don't think necessarily that's even something that's going to be given to him right now. He's going to kind of have to earn his way a little bit, and he will. And I think that in our guys' mind, that's one of the things Andrew Dockich did really well last year, being from the outside, is he did not come in. He came in as kind of a great listener, which might surprise many of us. But he came in as a great listener right away, and I think that meant something to our team. And he knew that Jay Sean and Keita and those guys were guys that were going to carry that mantle a little bit. And then by the end of the year, he had a prominent voice in our locker room. And I think it spoke a lot about his ability to kind of sense that. Keyshawn, there's probably a greater void there in terms of leadership. But I think Keyshawn recognizes that, that he needs to kind of come in and do his work and, kind of, for the most part, just be about doing his work. And then there'll be moments as he grows and with trust with his teammates that he'll be able to assume a leadership role if that gets earned.
In what ways can Andrew Dockich now help you from a coaching standpoint, and even maybe help bring a guy like Keyshawn along in that leadership role?
Yeah, I think kind of they're both similar age, so I think shared experiences. Andrew can help him kind of talk about his path. And Keyshawn's a good player, and I think going to really help us in a lot of ways. But I think it's going to be good for him to kind of to hear from Andrew. Hey, this is kind of what I think will be important in your role. You're only going to be here 9 months to a year, and Keyshawn's a good enough kid that he's going to listen and pay attention to that. So,
going back to the Spain trip, setting your youth aside, how much of an advantage can this be for any team starting as early as you guys are and, getting kind of running earlier than maybe you normally would?
It's interesting, and I've talked to coaches. I even talked to the coaches on the road last week and asked about, is there an advantage? Do you see that translate to, the season? And to a man, almost every coach said not necessarily. But I think what you do gain is what you said, is this, when you have a group that is relatively new, it's better. Like we have it, it's better because they really do spend concentrated time together, and we get to learn more about them, and we'll be put in some difficult game situations there because the competition has typically been pretty good. So that'll be good. We'll be able to see how our guys respond to that situation. But time together certainly is up there in terms of the importance for our team. And how that ultimately translates to kind of December and January, who knows? But I'd rather be doing it than not doing it.
And then this is our first off season with you coming off a season. How much do you keep in contact with Keita, JT, Cam, the guys that have departed as they try and, figure out the next stage of their career?
Yeah. As much as I can, Cam and I texted, I think, last week. He kind of checks in on me. I check in on him. Hey, Coach, how's it going? I'm kind of checking in every now and then. A lot of those guys, they're kind of doing their thing. As we know, JT broke his finger. He was disappointed about that because he was playing really well. And Milwaukee really, I believe, likes him. So that was disappointing for him and disappointing for us. But he'll be fine. He'll be fine. And then, Keita was here yesterday. He's back on campus. So we had a chance to spend some time talking to him a little bit. I've had a busy couple days, so I haven't spent as much time as I've wanted to with him, but he was getting the workout in. He looks great. Felt very good about Summer League. His contract was a really good contract. His people, his agent, and that did an outstanding, and it was deservedly so. Minnesota got a great pick, and he signed an outstanding contract. Obviously, a 3-year deal, 2-year guaranteed, and the money is good.
So when you look at this trip with the freshmen and then the transfers coming in, do you see, I mean, is it kind of, they're eager to learn, do you see it kind of throwing them into the fire a little bit earlier
Sure.
on?
Yeah, I think we will, and I think we'll throw them into the fire, early on. It's well documented. Our schedule's out right now. We got some tough ones early, and a lot of tough ones, and not just the ones we think about with Cincinnati and Creighton. We've got some other ones, IPFW, and many others that are going to be a real challenge. So, listen, it's good. It's good for us to get some playing experience and wanting to be ready, hopefully a little more ready than even what we were last year.
Chris, Micah talked last month about a team meeting at which they talked a lot about being fully transparent with one another, the players with the players with the coaches with the players. I don't know if the coaches were in on that or not, but I just wondered, half of the guys on this team pretty much are new, how do you get that nailed down with a team and so that it can start developing trust in one another, which is going to affect how well you play together in the season?
Yeah. I'm assuming Micah was talking about a team meeting. We have an off-season program that I really got from Urban. I was going to use it when I was at Butler. His real life Wednesdays, is that what it's called, I think? So I was actually going to implement that at Butler after I had read that he did that. And I was actually going to call him and kind of pick his brain on it. And I didn't have a chance quite to get to it. So we've developed kind of our own off-season program. And it's along the same lines, maybe a little bit different. We're calling it Beyond Hoops. I didn't have quite as creative a name. But so we just settled with Beyond Hoops. And we're using the off season for us to just kind of talk about some of those things. I'm assuming that's what Micah was talking about, maybe something different, but excuse me, we're talking about some of those things. Program values. We want to talk about, we want to bring people in front of our players in the community that will be inspirational for them. Whether it's a business leader, a community leader, a CEO. Today we have a former player panel that is going to visit with our guys that we anticipate using every year. So any former player that's out there that's not on it, trust me, you're going to get a call here soon. I think that's important for us as we're a new group together. But it's also kind of an off-season program that we're going to do every year. So it's really a combination of us trying to understand who we are as a program, and yet also we want our guys to be put in front of people that will be inspiring for them, and beyond just their time here at Ohio State. Does that make sense at all? Oh, okay.
Because I don't think anybody knew about that program. But as far as, like I said, I think six
Yeah.
new guys.
Yeah.
As far as how do you facilitate as big a group as that, building trust with the rest of the guys? How much can be done in a week, 10 days in Spain? How much has already been done throughout the off season?
I think it's good. I don't think a whole lot can be done in 10 days in Spain and 10 practices, to be honest with you. I think that's going to be, it's a little bit of a slow drip. It's going to take some time, and we're going to have to go through some difficult stuff for that to really grow. It helps. The time together helps. Like I said, I think we'll be put in some difficult situations, but I don't think that's going to really be what we want it to be until we're months into this thing together as a group.
You're playing 3 games over there. What caliber competition? Are they semi-pro teams, pro teams? Are they teams that have been together? What can you say about the teams you're going to play?
From what I understand, they're a collection of professional players. In some cases, it's kind of a mix match of professional players on a team. And I think it really, the games have been pretty competitive from, like Butler had very competitive games last year. I think teams that have went over there have a very competitive team or competitive games. So that's my understanding. I don't know that in particular, and David Egelhoff might know better, if we're playing any team that is like themselves a professional team. So I think it's kind of a mixed match of guys.
Can't talk about specific guys in recruiting, but how unique was it to have a player visiting plus going on the road? It was like planes, trains, and automobiles. Can you recount as much as you want to recount from Wednesday afternoon on to Sunday, like coming, going, what all happened?
Yeah, it was unique, to say the least. Been doing this 20-plus years and have never had an official visit. I think I can talk about, everybody knows it's official visit. You're like the pseudo-compliance right now. Yeah, okay, all right. I think that it was very unique, and it's funny the number of people who I was on the road with and who said to me, "Man, I didn't even know you could do that." And I give our compliance a lot of credit. Carly was really the one who suggested this time period of doing it, and Mike Schrage brought it to my attention. But it was unique. We were. I think somehow there was a certain information that was disseminated about me going back and forth and the surprise of that. But trust me, we had put great thought into all that. It wasn't just, we didn't just kind of all of a sudden get up on Thursday morning and say, yeah, I think I'll go to Peach. Anyway. Leave it at that.
Yeah. Not to belabor the point, Chris, but with the eye, and then the last time we talked to you, you had the patch on the back of your head. Is this a standard summer for you, or did you push it a little bit more than normal?
Yeah. Whew, 5 years from now, I don't know what I'm going to look like in 5 years. It's been a rough 18 months for my overall health, but so far so good. I'm making it, but hopefully this thing will go away pretty quickly.
Okay. When you look back at this stretch, then, a lot of people thought the program on the court last year was back on track, but maybe this doesn't make sense. This summer and the recruiting work you've done for the next couple of years, does this maybe mean more for the future than even what you did on the court last year? If that makes sense.
Well, I think it does. I think they go hand in hand, for sure. But, I just think for us, we have got to continue to be, really diligent in recruiting, and our staff is that way. We have some dogs when it comes to recruiting. They really, really are aggressive and do a tremendous job. Now, that doesn't always translate into recruiting success, but I believe if you do it enough, and if you get there close enough with certain kids, and you'll get your fair share. And we just have to continue to do that. And I don't know that we'll ever have kind of the class that Coach Mata had here. It was such an unbelievable class, but I do think that hopefully we can put quality class after quality class together. and guys that fit us too. You know, we talk about that as much as anything. We're really looking for guys that fit us as a program, and it's not going to be for everyone. Um, but you know, we're certainly excited about these young kids we have here now, and then hopefully continuing to put together quality classes, and we feel like we've gotten off to an outstanding start.
Well, Chris, that'll be a good place to leave it. Just because of the success you had last week in recruiting, how does it change trajectory, momentum in recruiting? It seems like it's a momentum business, right?
Yeah.
One leads to the next.
Yeah.
How does the news you got over the weekend potentially lead to something that maybe you weren't anticipating? How can you build on it is what I'm asking.
You know, I think it's a good point, and I don't think that recruiting success guarantees future recruiting success. I think there is something to be said for momentum, but you got to put in the work and the time, and the relationships have to be built. And in some cases, you know, you got to get a little bit fortunate or lucky, just like playing in the NCAA tournament. You know, there has to be some of that goes along with it too, to be quite honest with you. But you know, I do think it's nice to have that momentum. I don't want any of us in here, or certainly our staff or myself, to assume that that's going to lead to future recruiting success just because we have some momentum. We've got to put the work and the time and the investment in, and hopefully if we do, people will see this as a great opportunity and continue to see it as a great opportunity. We're very excited. But we've got a lot of work left ahead of us too here, not only in this coming 19 class, but in the classes behind them too. Okay, thanks guys.